Talkin' GK with Conway.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Talking GK with Conway. It is I, Conway Fitzgerald. In case you didn't know, this is the show where we talk a little bit about the book, and I give you some inside scoops, answer your questions, and delve a little deeper. Today on the show, I have my very first guest. Yes, that's right, folks. Actually, he's a blacksmith from down under. And we're going to talk about forging and how we got to know each other through the story, and what a wonderful resource he is for me for telling the story. So we also have a new quiz, viewer mail, and I did a new poll. And by overwhelming majority, the ayes have it. So yes, I will be contributing a few more statistical analyses of some of the characters in the story for those of you who have said you'd like to adapt it for your own role-playing games at home. And I just think that is the coolest thing in the world, so I'm much obliged. So I'm going to give you 3 more characters. First things first, I always like to say a big thank you to all of my new subscribers. Welcome. Please feel free to dive in and ask questions because I love comments. In fact, the only thing I like more than a new Patreon subscriber is my listeners, and I know you're listening when you comment. So even if you feel like you have nothing particularly interesting to say or ask, just say hi. I love it. Nothing makes me happier than when I post something new and then I hear your reactions. It's great. I just love it. So, though I would like some more Patreon subscribers, you know, for $3 for a month, you could be a Patreon supporter of mine. That is less than most Marvel comics are today. I think it's like half the price. And you get 2 whole stories. So, and you become immortalized as one of the cool people that was there before this thing was bigger than Game of Thrones. So anyway, please consider that. My goal is to have 100 of my fantastic subscribers donate $3 a month, and that way I can really expand our audience and our community by doing some advertising on YouTube and try to see if there's more people out there in the world who would dig on it like you have. So consider that if you would. That said, Jörg Grosinger, still my single Patreon supporter, is representing the wonderful people of Deutschland, and I'd just like to say, ich bin sehr gemütlich. Vielen Dank. But you know, Jörg, thank you. Somebody out there in the States has got to step up, though. One of you guys, come on. Somebody's got to step up and represent. But Jörg, I'm eternally grateful, and all of you listeners, I am so grateful. That said, I'm going to have an additional all-star commenter shout-out to Rosu777, Samuel Earl, Lee Osborne, Darth Vader, Mizati, The Last Gamer, Lone Wolf, Ryan Whitehead, William Myers, Rhythm Nose, The Witching Hour, Virgil Sparta, Seth Dillon and his mom, A Greased Monkey, Jean-Luc Martel, Asher from Golden Moral Cinemas. You know, he's 15 years old and he's already like on his way to being the next Kubrick. He's amazing. Drool HD from England, Elliot Johnson, Chris Commander, Sakura Blue, and Marswip. There's so many more that I could mention, but I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for commenting and being involved in this. It means so much to me, so that's my special shout out. So now for all eternity, you guys can prove to all your friends that, hey, I was hip, I was there, man, you know. I'd also like to say that I'm going to do the Chapter 18 Season 2 finale live with you folks. So I have it right here. I haven't actually started it yet, but as you can see, it's pretty weighty. See, I got my dialogue highlighted and everything. So look for that. As soon as I produce it, I'm going to schedule it, and then we can, as I promised, interact a bit as I produce it live. All right, without much further ado, I would like to introduce my first guest.
Alrighty, so I finished off the pattern on the back. Alrighty, so now it's been sharpened, and might have to do a little bit of clean up on the actual blade, because when I was sharpening it, I went a little bit high on the bevels. That went in there somewhere, but.
So now, folks, please let me introduce to you my favorite smithy from down under in Australia, Adam from Speargrass Forge.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Hello.
Welcome, Adam. You're my first ever guest on the show, so welcome.
I feel honored. Thank you very much.
And thank you for doing it. I have so many questions I want to ask and share, but I figured maybe the best thing for me to do is, ask you what it is that your channel is really about. I have your fantastic logo behind me there.
Yep. I'm a blacksmith. So my channel is about my journey starting off again blacksmithing after a 15-year gap. I was actually did a little bit of blacksmithing in my teenage years under a master smith, and then of course life got in the way. So yeah, it's just me going through and re-educating myself and getting back into my passion, which is blacksmithing. It's yeah, heating and beating metal and making all sorts of things out of it.
Beaten metal. Love it. Well, just so the audience knows, the reason I came to know you is because you became one of my subscribers. And
That's right.
I like to occasionally find out from my subscribers what they're about. And I noticed that you were a smithy, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm writing about forging steel and things, and I really don't know anything about it. So I asked if you could be a resource for me, and you came up aces, brother.
No worries. Yeah, being a blacksmith, you generally find all blacksmiths are some sort of fantasy, aficionados or history or whatnot. So I come over and I've been a subscriber basically since you were under 100 subscribers, and so I watched the intro. I've been here since the first chapters. I think my first ever comment was in chapter 4. Was my first time I actually ever publicly commented on something in your channel. But yeah, and then of course during that time you reached out to me once you saw that I subscribed, and yeah, I'm happy to advise you on with my limited knowledge of blacksmithing.
Oh, but it's been really helpful, and for those of you who didn't know, Adam was very helpful with me as when I was doing chapter 8, and I was trying to come up with some really realistic descriptions of the forge at Voss, and Adam came up with some great ideas in helping me, and so therefore I named the half-dwarf Voss smithy Adam of Mountain Glow after you. So how does it feel to be immortalized in fiction?
Well, first of all, you killed Adam off. But I think it was Geoffrey Chaucer that said, "In being immortalized in fiction can be both a good thing and a bad thing." But yeah, no, it's really good. I'm actually really keen to see if anything happens with the sons of Adam and his apprentices, because I remember they escaped.
Right.
And
yes.
So I wonder if anything becomes of them.
Well,
because
the dwarves of Mountain Glow are coming back. They're coming back very soon, because not too many spoiler alerts, but yeah, they're very involved in the next couple of chapters.
Just so everyone knows, I have no idea what's happening in the story. I am waiting for every chapter just as much as you guys are. And I only get I get snippets when Conway calls me up or messages me and says, "Hey, what can I do about this?" So I have but that's just when it comes to blacksmithing or weapons, do I get a little bit of information. Other than that, I have absolutely no idea where the story's going.
And so you had reached out to me because you had a fabulous idea. And that is because I mentioned Mountain Glow, which is the dwarven forge in the mountains, and it was just a name that I came up with. But you had an awesome idea about why it was called Mountain Glow, and could you share that with the listeners?
Well, I'm always of opinion, and if you look through the history of the way things are named, there's always a reason for the way something is named. Even like as a blacksmith, we have that name because smith or smit means to hit, to smite. So every name Every name has a reason. So I thought, well, Mountain Glow. Why is it called Mountain Glow? Okay, if there's a forge, if it's a Mountain Glow Forge, okay, it's because there's a forge in there. But what would make that place so special that it gave the name what gave the name the Mountain Glow? So basically, I figured, well, it would be, for example, an eternal forge, something that is always running. And then that led me down the rabbit hole of why would that forge always be running, and how would that forge always be running? And I've initially thought, well, lava, okay, yeah, too easy, but lava's all overdone, right? Lava was always there. You always hear about lava forge. It's kind of like, But what is a realistic way that could be done? And I got to thinking, I know there are places in the US, particularly, where there's been coal mines underneath townships, and somehow those coal mines have been ignited due to mining or whatnot, and the gases that are in the coal mines are still burning after 150 years, and it's still to this day in some places in the US.
So this is like methane, right? Or like natural gas.
Yeah, methane, natural gases and stuff like that. Exactly. And I thought, well, if this Mountain Glow Forge is in a cave, it could have fractures or fissures in that cave that could leach those natural gases. And if some poor dwarf walked in there thousands of years ago and with a torch and then blew himself up, and blew himself up, of course, but then those gases in that cave stayed lit. And if the dwarves and the elves or whatever beings were around at that time managed to harness the natural gases in those forges, in that cave, they could create a ever burning forge in there. Thus, that mountain is always aglow because of the forges. Mountain Glow Forge, and actually
brilliant.
and it's based in reality too, because I use a naturally aspirated gas forge for some of the things that I forge. So using gas as a fuel for forging is not outside the realm of reality. I mean, most people, when they associate blacksmith, they associate solid fuel forges, which is, your coal or your charcoal, stuff like bituminous coal, stuff like that. But gas is a modern way of doing forging. So yeah, so it fits into reality as well. I was going to say also, like Airmine wouldn't exactly know how that forge would work, because if it's come from a natural gas, to most people in that region, in that world, it wouldn't be a common thing to run forges on gas. So it would still be magical and mystical, even though it's based in reality. So it's based in actual sciences.
As we go further down, I have 3 books planned for this. It's a trilogy. This is The Giant Killers is the first one, but so as I go, I think I'm going to add a little bit more to that lore, because it's so brilliant. Thank you.
Yep.
So
you're quite welcome.
Awesome, Adam. Before we go, there's this urban myth here in the States that I was hoping that you might be able, since you're down under, you might be able to confirm or myth bust for us today. So my question is it true? Do drains really go counterclockwise on the other side of the equator? Can you test that? Can you flush a toilet and test that for us?
I can definitely test that for you there, Conway.
Excellent. Here it is, folks. We're going to see if this is truth or if it's myth busting.
Here's to disprove that our toilets flush a different way. We have a totally different toilet system to you guys. Here's how Australian toilets flush. That's it. No circling, nothing.
So, oh my God. Oh, so it must remain unsolved. Oh. Well, Adam, perhaps the next time we can check the bathtub, So, Adam,
that's it.
Again, so much for joining me on Talking GK with Conway. You're a very special guest and a very great new friend, and so insightful. And I'm just so grateful to have you as a resource for the story. Thank you for that. And listen, I'm going to post Adam's link to his page. And I hope all of you folks will go check it out and subscribe to his channel and share some of that GK love, okay? And also, Adam has told me he's got a special Speargrass Forge sticker, just like the one that's right behind me, to add to the prize of today's quiz. Is that right?
Yes, I do. I'll be sending sending Conway some a sticker to go in with this week's prize, so you can display a little bit of Australian pirate flag, forging behind it wherever you choose.
Botany Bay. Oh, that's beautiful. Adam,
No worries.
thanks again so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me there, Conway. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's do the quiz.
Okay, I think for those of you who are new to this, what I do is I ask a question about the story, and if you feel you know the answer, you can comment below. And the first one to answer correctly in the comments below will win your choice of either a first edition copy of Conway Fitzgerald's The Giant Killers. That's right. It's not published yet, so it's essentially an IOU. But I will sign it for you as soon as it's made. Another reason to support me on Patreon. Or you can, if you want something physically in your hands today, you can request one of my original pieces of art. And so that said, let's do the quiz. In Chapter 17, Dan experiences his first glimpse of the shared vision. Now, a shared vision is something special because more than one person has seen it. So therefore, it's very deep. It's very significant. I think a good example would be, for those of you who remember the old Spielberg classic, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Remember when the character sees the mountain, the Devil's Tower, and then he starts making, mashed potato sculptures and then bigger sculptures, and then all of a sudden he comes across other people who've also been drawing it. That would be a good description of a shared vision, something that profoundly affects more than one person so that they know that there's a true significance to it. So in this experience, Dan observes the following scene.
Dan's eyes fixed on his cadre's symbols, the white flame, with its gold and black insignia and imagery. He then envisioned 3 sparrows flying like darts into the ancient hall, where the tapestries once hung proudly, but were now likely looted or ransacked. All 3 birds flew up atop the large wooden rod that held the tapestry of the white flame aloft. 1 bird rested to the left, 1 to the right, and 1 remained precisely in the center. Each bird then picked at the tapestry, drawing threads from it. The one on the left drew many threads, and then flew away through the darkened window to the left. The one in the center kept pecking until its beak filled with a bundle of intertwined threads. Some of the threads were still connected to the great tapestry. As the center bird took flight and pulled more, the tapestry tore. Its very fabric came undone. The center bird then took its bundle, flying directly overhead into the shadowed ceiling of the darkened cupola. Many threads fell as that bundle was snapped away. The 3rd sparrow on the right pulled 1 long thread from the great tapestry. It was a thread of silver and gold, tipped with the red light of sunset. The single thread fluttered in the wind, filling the empty space with graceful twists and turns. It extended all the way down to Dan's feet. He reached for the thread, but before he could grasp it, the 3rd sparrow flew out the window to his right, taking that last remaining thread with it. As it flew out that window, the tapestry fell to pieces, with all the various other threads coming undone.
So here's the question, and get your keyboards ready, because I think some of you are going to get this pretty quick. What do the 3 sparrows represent? That's right, the 3 birds flew into the tower there, and what do they represent? If you know the answer, type it down below, and if you're the first, you're the winner. All right, now on to viewer mail. Our first viewer mail comes from Ryan Whitehead, who commented on Chapter 16. He says, what happened to Theb? The master of stealth has to know a way out of this bind. Ryan, you're not the only one who was astonished that Theb could be captured, which I think says a lot about him as a character. He's one of everybody's favorites, but I think it's more about how good Thon is than it is how much Thon is slipping up. I mean, I thought what I described was pretty cool, which was, imagine there's a big bureau, like he comes in and a ballista has been manufactured to be inside of it, invisible inside of it. So as soon as Theb walked into the room and turned and Thon saw him, he kicked it and the thing snared him. And so what Theb did was he tried to escape, and try to speak an incantation for a teleportation spell, but Thon knew exactly what he was up to, so he climbed over and grabbed him. I think it would have taken him a few seconds to pull that off, and that was all the time Thon needed to tackle him. So I appreciate everyone who did not believe, just like you, Ryan, that that would get snagged, but I thought I belabored the point about how careful he was. But, thanks for commenting. All right, not so much commented on the quiz on Talking GK with Conway number 6, which was, what did Aermine mean when she called the birds gossipers, with the quip, gossipers because they always tweet stuff. And I just wanted to add that because I just thought that was really clever. Not correct, but clever. The correct answer was because she was afraid that the birds were going to go tell Nuna about Dan, and then that was something Nuna would have over her. And she was absolutely right, which was answered correctly by Justin Smith. So Justin has opted for his prize of an IOU. So he would like to choose to await a first edition signed copy by moi of The Giant Killer. So congrats, Justin, you're the winner. All right. Virgil Sparta commented, I get the feeling that the little giant is going to be a big part later down. Is this hunch of mine right, or just thinking too much? Virgil, you weren't alone in falling in love with Tilla. It was interesting because Tilla was a character that I designed to help Dan reflect on himself. And he wasn't really designed to be a fulcrum character in the plot. So Tilla was a big hit. Everybody thought that Tilla was this major character that was going to change the whole scope of the show. But unfortunately, he does not appear again in this story. But hey, since he was such a hit, maybe I'll have to write him in on the next one. By popular demand, the ayes have it, and you have spoken, and you wanted to see some more of character stats, so I'm going to provide you folks with a few more characters with which you can apply to your own gaming at home, which I just think is the coolest thing ever. That makes me so happy. Now, again, I go way back. I mean, my understanding of the rules and things probably seem pretty archaic to most of you. But that said, I am working on getting an expert in both the old and the new to help bridge those gaps and maybe give you folks some fresher stats. So that is in the works. But for now, let me start with the Great Seer, Fergus. Of course, Fergus is a cleric. He has an alignment of lawful good, so he's as good as they get. I have him at a level 11, where this story is at right about now. Now, he's a big, strong guy. I've tried to describe that. He has an 18 strength, 15 intelligence, and he has a natural 18 wisdom. Now, because he's a possessor of a pearl of wisdom, he has a 19, and so that makes him exceptionally wise. He's a 10 dexterity, 17 constitution, and a 16 charisma. So those are Fergus's stats. I have him at roughly 88 hit points, minus 6 armor class. One of the the weapon that I have for him is what I call a hammer of striking, which I described as being able to, at his command, grow in size and do like double damage with a strike. He also has what's called a symbol amulet that he uses, and you might have seen him use it to dispel the undead and other things. So those are some of Fergus's attributes. So now let's get into his arch rival and the nemesis of Dan Tinuvial, and that would be Quell Tavor. Now, Quell is also a cleric, but he's on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. He's a chaotic evil cleric. He's in it all for himself. He doesn't really care about Moscow. He's just trying to gather power and trying to, become a god himself. That's what Quell is all about. At this point in the game, I have him at a level 12. I have him with a natural 13 strength, but I'm going to get deep into the Scorn Scepter, which is a weapon that I invented. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. 16 intelligence, 18 wisdom, 12 dexterity, 15 constitution, and also a 16 charisma. So now the Scorn Scepter is a weapon that was forged in the underworld by Manes for the Demogorgon. So just possessing it gives the user the strength of any man, so a full 1800 strength. He also has powerful plate mail and shield, and the Scorn Scepter also has the ability to when it strikes somebody, it causes a withering magic which causes them to continuously lose hit points until that's dispelled. So I'll leave that up to you folks to decide how that happens, but it ain't easy. You need to have some special elvish magic to be able to know how to do that, or some kind of druidic knowledge about withering and anti-withering. So the Scorn Scepter is a power. I'd give it probably the same kind of striking power as a two-handed sword. It's just something that when it hits you, it's if you feel like you got hit by something that's 20 feet tall. So that's what that weapon is, and it also has power to control undead and things of that nature. So that is the Scorn Scepter, and you guys can expound on it a little bit if you want. All right, well, the next character I mentioned earlier in this show, and that is our Ranger, Thon. He also has an alignment of lawful good. At this point in the story, I have him at a level 10. Now, he has a 16 strength, 15 intelligence, 16 wisdom. He has a 16 dexterity. It's modified to 18 because he is a possessor of boots of speed. So when he doesn't ride on horses, he can. You might have noticed in the chapter where they encountered the frost giant, he just whipped across the ice and was inside before Dan even knew what happened. So that's one of his abilities, is he's stealthy and able to move really fast on his feet. I have him with a 17 constitution and a 12 charisma. He's a tough guy. He's hard to hit, and I have him at 90 hit points, -8 armor class. So in addition, I added the magic item, a net of snaring. So for those of you who still don't buy Theb getting captured, well then there's your reason. It was a net of snaring. He also has powerful chain armor and shield. So there you folks are. More characters for you to enjoy. Do with them what you will. If you have more questions about any of the characters, please comment below. Let me know if you want to know a little bit more about anybody. And as I mentioned, I have a special agent working on expanding this into the 5e realm in order to give you guys a little bit more access and fuel for your own imaginations. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you all in the Chapter 18 season finale, which will be live as soon as it's made. And yes, thanks again for Talkin' GK with Conway.
This has been Talkin' GK with Conway. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends.